Okay, guys, WrestleMania 30 has just ended literally minutes ago. So I decided to make a little video and a review of WrestleMania. Let you know what I thought about it. I'm going to let you know what I thought about the matches. The build up to this WrestleMania has been the most controversial and discussed road to WrestleMania that I can ever remember. And some of it's been good, some of it's been not so good. The majority of it's been very frustrating for all of us. But I thought they've done a good job over the past few weeks of putting everything, where it needs to be and getting everything set up to have what actually turned into a pretty decent WrestleMania card. One that I was pretty excited about. Now, to open the show, they had actually a great segment. They had Hulk Hogan come out as the host, which that was no surprise. But then Stone Cold Steve Austin came out, which everybody knew he was at WrestleMania. Nobody knew what he was going to do. But he came out with Hogan in the ring, and he talked to Hogan a little while, and they talked about how they respect each other. And then The Rock came out. So you had Hogan, Austin, and The Rock all in the ring at the same time. They all drank beer together. This was a pretty epic moment. The opening match of the night, the first match, was Daniel Bryan against Triple H. Of course, the stipulation was whoever wins the match is going into the main event in a triple threat match. And I thought that was a stroke of genius to add that stipulation for both guys instead of just Daniel Bryan, because when the stipulation was that Daniel Bryan could go to the main event if he won and not Triple H, that was pretty obvious that he was going to win, because they wouldn't advertise a triple threat and not have one. So when Triple H made that triple threat stipulation for, too many triples, when he made that stipulation for himself also, that put some doubt into people's minds, because you get to think, well, maybe it's an Evolution triple threat. That'd be interesting. So, I think that was a stroke of genius. But I still thought Daniel Bryan would probably win the match and go on to the main event. This was a very good match. Daniel Bryan came out, surprisingly to me, he had the shoulder wrapped. They were playing off the shoulder injury, and I really didn't think that they needed that. I mean, to me, Daniel Bryan going up against Triple H was enough. That was enough of an obstacle for him to overcome without having the shoulder injury. Of course, Stephanie's at ringside. And the match was really, really good. Triple H was in the best shape that I've seen him in a long time. They worked a good solid 15, maybe even 20 minutes. And it was very physical. Both guys hit finishers. I give the match a B overall. Of course, Daniel Bryan wins the match. He goes into the main event to face Randy Orton and Batista at the end of the night. The next match on the card was the Shield against the New Age Outlaws and Kane. And I called this to get a beer match, because that's when, everybody's going to get up and go get another beer. I went into the kitchen and got some pizza and some tea, because I don't drink beer anymore. But that was the opportunity for you to go get whatever you needed. And nobody really cared. Nobody was really interested in this match. It wasn't a good match. It was literally 5 minutes or less. There really wasn't much to see here. I gave it a D. The only reason I didn't give it an F, because there were some pretty cool spots for Roman Reigns. He had a double spear on both of the Outlaws, and he speared Kane, and then they set up both the Outlaws and did that triple powerbomb on both of them. That was interesting to see. I kind of thought this may be like the implosion of the Shield. That's kind of what I was anticipating, but it didn't happen, and the match just turned out to be boring. The next match was the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. And I was excited about this match. That's one that I was looking forward to. I thought there was a few different ways they could go with it. Of course, there was the obvious thing to have Big Show win. And it was a good battle royal. It was a solid match. The winner turned out to be Antonio Cesaro. And I was happy about that. This is his push. If they want to take Antonio Cesaro and make a main eventer out of him right now, which I think they should do, then they can do that. Because this match, this win, legitimizes him as a top guy. Especially the way that he did it. Guys, he picked the Big Show up and literally slammed him outside of the ring. It was incredible. The Battle Royal itself was good. You had some good spots in there where some guys hit some finishers. Of course, you had a Kofi Kingston spot like in the Royal Rumble. He went outside the ring, but he kept his feet on the steps, and he got back in the ring. And I mean, that was okay. We've come to expect that from Kofi, and he's not really a threat to win. But that's fun to see. I gave the Battle Royal a B. And Daniel Bryan beats Triple H and goes into the main event. And Antonio Cesaro wins the Battle Royal. And it's starting to look like something of a changing of the guard, which made me happy and optimistic for the rest of the night. So then we go into the match with John Cena and Bray Wyatt. And Bray Wyatt comes out first. And he's got a band playing his music. And has this big entrance. And he gets a really good pop. And then, of course, Cena comes out. And he's used to having really elaborate WrestleMania entrances. But he just comes out with his regular entrance. And, of course, everybody boos. And it feels like the Bray Wyatt push that I hoped it would be. Because the WWE has a horrible shortage of heels at the top. And Bray Wyatt is that guy. And, guys, the match was solid. It was very solid. There were some good spots. Both guys hit their finishers. This is the best in-ring work Bray Wyatt has done ever in his career. It was his WrestleMania debut, and he stepped up. And they had a very good, solid match until the ending. It looked like Bray Wyatt was going to set up for the Abigail's Kiss, the finisher. And first of all, Cena botched the thing. And he didn't get into position the right way, so it took him forever to maneuver around to get into position to where Bray Wyatt could actually hit the move, and then Cena just countered it right into the Attitude Adjustment and hit it and pinned him and won the match and pulled out the gold shovel with the word Cena on it, Super Cena, and just buried Bray Wyatt and his heel push. And he jumped out of the ring and grabbed a kid and gave him a hug. And, I've been a supporter of Cena for a long time. For a long time, ever since this Cena hate's been going on, I've been supporting the guy. I've been saying, this guy is the perfect representative for WWE. He's a better wrestler than you give him credit for. He's a hard worker, and all that's true. But at a certain point, it comes time to do something different. And there was two spots in this match where we saw what a heel Cena would look like. He got really nasty in this match a few times. And it was interesting, and it was exciting, and it was different. Of course, every time he was like, I can't do that, I got to be a Boy Scout. And then he won the match being a Boy Scout, which was boring. That's boring. We've seen that, we've done that, we're tired of that, we want to do something else. So, for the first time during this WrestleMania, I was completely bummed out. But I gave the match a B. It was a good match. It was a solid match. I wanted to give it a C just because I hated the ending. But realistically, inside the ring, it was a good match, so I gave it a B. And that led us right into the Undertaker-Brock Lesnar match, which appeared to be the most predictable match on the card. Again, it was solid. It wasn't spectacular. It had a really slow pace, and the crowd wasn't really into it. And I liked the match. The spots were good, and everybody hit their moves. Nobody botched. And it was slow, but, they played it off with The Undertaker taking all this punishment. And I like that. That was probably the way to go with it. And then he countered back and hit some spots. And toward the end, the crowd started to get into it a little bit as they started hitting their finishers. The Undertaker hit the tombstone, and then Brock Lesnar kicked out, and he went for another tombstone, and I kind of thought he should have hit the second one right there and been the end of the match. But Brock Lesnar countered into what it looked like was going to be a tombstone for him, but then he turned the Undertaker into an F5 position and hit the F5 for the second time. He had already hit one earlier in the match, and Brock Lesnar pinned the Undertaker. You heard that right. I'm going to say that again. Brock Lesnar pinned The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30. The Undertaker is no longer undefeated at WrestleMania. 21-1. And the one is Brock Lesnar. A guy that has professed to hate the business and to hate everybody in the business. And he's only back for the money. And he's only back as a part-timer. And you may never see him in WWE again. But that's the guy they give the streak to. This could have made somebody's career. A Roman Reigns. Or a Daniel Bryan. Or a CM Punk. This could have made somebody a legend overnight. and they give the streak to Brock Lesnar. I cannot articulate how put off I am by this. Everybody in the arena was in complete shock. I was in complete shock. I was waiting for something to happen. I was like, that can't be the end. But it is. And it appears to be that it's the end of The Undertaker's career. So, that's the bottom line. They give the streak and apparently The Undertaker's last match to a guy who has professed to hate the business over and over again. I don't get that. I don't understand that. I don't understand why I understand why they would end the streak, but I don't understand why you would put that accolade on a guy like Brock Lesnar. A self-serving lunatic. If you don't, that's not his character, guys. That's not his character in WWE. That's who Brock Lesnar is. He's a self-serving lunatic. He's a great athlete. He's a freak of nature. He's actually a great wrestler. But he is a lunatic. If you don't believe me, watch his UFC promos, where they tried to make him behave. He was kicked out of the NFL because he wouldn't behave. He walked out on WWE before without any notice at all, just because he didn't like the things they were doing with him. And this is the guy they give the streak to. Go figure. So now, while we're all in shock over that, and while we're all bummed out over that, now we've got the Vicky Guerrero Diva Invitational match for the Divas Championship. Whoop-de-doo. This is going to fix everything, you know. The Divas all come out and get in the ring. There's like 3 of them that can actually wrestle. AJ's been the champion forever, and I like AJ. She's good in the ring. She really is. But she's been the champion so doggone long, and there really wasn't any spots to talk about in this match. They did some goofy thing with Natalya putting a sharpshooter on 2 people, and then they did, or maybe she just attempted it, I don't even remember. And then they did a goofy thing where the Bellas went over the top rope and all the Divas were like in a line, like they were playing Red Rover or something, and the Bellas hit them and knocked them all down. And oh my gosh, the second half of this WrestleMania looked like Triple H's revenge. It's like Triple H is mad because he lost to Daniel Bryan, so he just decides to destroy the rest of WrestleMania. AJ wins the Divas match, and she is still the Divas champion. I give the match a F. It was a terrible waste of time. The only thing good that I said going into that, the only thing good that come out of this is that Emma could win the championship. But to have AJ retain, that's terrible. Let's move on to the main event. Now you've got Daniel Bryan versus Batista versus Randy Orton. Now this match is a little thrown together. It never did really feel right. And as many people have said that this was the plan from day one. I've watched a lot of wrestling. This was not the plan for day one. This whole situation has not been booked to have this triple threat match at WrestleMania from day one. The original plan was for Batista to come back, get really over, and make everybody forget about Daniel Bryan. But that didn't happen. Everybody stayed on the Daniel Bryan bandwagon and hated Batista, which put the main event at WrestleMania in big trouble. So they wound up having to have this triple threat match that was thrown together. And Daniel Bryan comes out there. He looks like he can hardly move his shoulder. You know, it's all wrapped up in tape. Batista and Randy Orton both start beating on Daniel Bryan like a handicap match. He gets the best of them. Then the McMahons show up. Triple H goes up under the ring, gets the sledgehammer. Somehow it winds up. Oh, he gets up on the apron with it. Daniel Bryan does the running kick thing with him on the apron. Sledgehammer flies in the ring. Daniel Bryan picks it up, smacks Triple H in the head with it. Triple H and Stephanie get helped off out of the arena. Then you've got a handicap match between Randy Orton and Batista versus Daniel Bryan. And they did this thing, which was a good spot. It was weird. It was like a Batista bomb into an inverted RKO on the announce table. That's the best way I can explain it. Batista stood on one announce table, did a Batista bomb on Daniel Bryan, and on the way down, Randy Orton jumped up from the steps, which was sitting beside the table, and hit the RKO and put Daniel Bryan through the table. They bring a stretcher out there and they put Daniel Bryan on the stretcher with the head stabilizer deal, and they start wheeling him off. And Batista and Randy Orton go in the ring and they start having their one-on-one match that they were going to have all along. And then Daniel Bryan gets up off the stretcher and gets back in the ring. And again, Batista and Randy Orton start to beat him up. And Batista hits the spear on him, and everybody hits their finisher, just like they do in every triple threat match. And Daniel Bryan gets knocked out of the ring, and he winds up getting Batista in the yes lock and making him tap out. And so Daniel Bryan is the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I'll give this match a C because, there were some spots that really wasn't bad, but as far as how the match was played out, it was just unforgivably overbooked. And, Daniel Bryan got to have his big moment. As WrestleMania went off the air, he's holding both belts. All of a sudden, he's got great mobility in both arms and can hoist both, 20-pound belts in the air. And there's confetti falling all over the place, and that was nice. I'm exhilarated that Daniel Bryan got to have his WrestleMania moment, because nobody deserves it any more than Daniel Bryan. But I do think it's clouded a little bit by the way that this match was so horribly overbooked. It just came off as really goofy. First of all, you had the shoulder injury that they didn't need. Having a guy have to beat Triple H and then win a triple threat match that's basically a handicap match, that's enough. Without having the shoulder injury, having Triple H and Stephanie come out during the main event, having him get hauled off by a stretcher, you don't need all that. That's overbooking. I kind of thought they might do something fun with this match, like have CM Punk show up, have Mr. McMahon show up. None of that happened. It was just overbooked and goofy. And I think that's going to, put a damper on Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania moment a little bit, but not a whole lot. That's something they'll be showing from now on. Daniel Bryan celebrating at WrestleMania. You'll be seeing that for years to come, and that's good. That's fine. As far as WrestleMania overall, I don't really know what to say. It's like the first half of the show was really good and really positive, and then the second half of the show was a real downer. Having The Undertaker lose to Brock Lesnar is absolutely unforgivable. Of course, there was no sign of this guy, just like I didn't think there would be. I told everybody that he wouldn't show up, although I was hoping he would show up during the main event. There was obviously no sign of Sting. Again, I was holding out hope for a Sting promo. It didn't happen. Just the show was just really straightforward. It was one match after another, and it didn't really deliver in the way that I hoped that it would.